Kayak gets my flight, hotel, and rental car right, so I can tune out travel advice that's just plain wrong.
Bro, SkyCoin. Way better than points.
Never fly during a Scorpio full moon.
Just tell the manager you'll sue. Instant room upgrade.
Stop taking bad travel advice. Start comparing hundreds of sites with Kayak and get your trip right.
Bad advice? You talking to me?
Kayak. Got that right.
Hi, welcome to the Funny Life Film Festival. We are very lucky today. We have the Filmmakers Podcast. I do a podcast every week interviewing filmmakers from indie to Hollywood. And today they're here at the Funny Life Film Festival interviewing all the features at this year's film festival. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you on to Dom Lenoir and Giles Alderson, who will interview this year's feature filmmakers.
Thank you. Oh, hello, everyone. You all right? Everyone well?
How's everyone doing?
I'm Giles Alderson, I'm a writer, director, and producer.
I'm Dom Lenoir, and I'm the same. As often. Similar episodes.
So yes, thank you so much, Funny Life Film Festival, for letting us do this, having this amazing panel with us to talk about comedy mainly, and making your feature films and how you can do that.
Yeah, so let's start with just a general question about how to make a good comedy. Like, what's the secrets? What's your process of finding the funny in your writing and your directing?
Hillary, yes, because the mic is with you right now. Yeah. Let's start with you. Obviously, your film in the festival is Much Ado About Nothing, or just Much Ado. Tell us a little bit about that.
So it's a Shakespeare adaptation, obviously, as you can probably tell from the title. And yeah, it's a rom-com. I think we were talking about yesterday in the Q&A, it's like considered the first rom-com, someone was saying. So
the first ever rom-com.
And actually, yeah, I think it is kind of interesting because all the rom-coms that I have really enjoyed since, I do feel like they are just sort of like retellings of that, hating each other, coming to love each other. Yeah, so I guess with that one, the comedy kind of came from Shakespeare already. But yeah.
Well, it depends. Let's go with Mitchell Tolliday. He's the director and co-writer of Murder Ballads.
So the idea for Murder Ballads is, the synopsis is it's about a rock band called Stack of Corpses who will do anything to become famous, and they hatch a plan to steal a dead singer's song, and then you're dealing with the fallout and the repercussions from that. The comedy for that, I think, just came from the fact I wrote it with my best friend Neil Rickardson from school, and it's just trying to make each other laugh is how we start finding our comedy, and then giving it to a wider audience, being the actors that we want to be in it, and letting that then make it better and better and better with each person who gets involved.
Amazing. I love that. Holger, let's go to you next. Mitch, pass that. Oh, thank you. So, Holger Borggrefe. We were close. I was nowhere near, really, was I? You did it once and for real, director and co-writer of this. Just give us a little bit about the film.
It's about Anton. In the beginning, he's 19 years old and promises at the grave of his best mate to fall in love once and for real, because his best mate was not able to fall in love anymore. And then they are going to follow him for a long time, and he fails. And we sort of are with him at all his most important dates, and time passes and so on. And I think was most important was to find a way to have a drama, but to play this drama as the most embarrassing situations, and to take this seriously. And then when you see this person suffer in situations which are, oh my God, yes, then the comedy comes alive.
Yes, and that's a good place to find the comedy when it's serious, right? Stephen, obviously, some of your films, Stephen Cookson, ladies and gentlemen, co-writer and director of Arthur's Whiskey. Some of your films in the past, very serious, or they've got comedy elements, but they're a bit more serious. And Brighton and Arthur's Whiskey have a much more playful tone to them. Just give us a little bit about Arthur's Whiskey, and then the comedy side of that would be interesting.
Yeah, sure. Well, Arthur's Whiskey was an idea that was sent in to me, which I just thought was very funny. It's about three old ladies who drink some whiskey and it makes them younger, and I thought it was a great, magical idea I haven't seen, for quite a long time. So that concept I thought was really good, and then we developed it over several years, and then made it. I think the thing about comedy is I really like working with the actors, and I've got some good actors in this film, so I just encourage them to, ad lib and play when we're in the rehearsals and just try to find as much comedy as we can. And then, of course, in the post-production, then you test the film and, we were seeing what it was like in the edit when it was a rough edit. Could we milk any more comedy from that? And then, of course, the composer will go, in that area and try to make funny with music and then sound design. So I try to get comedy from everything.
It's a brilliant way to do it, right? Yeah, finding those little nuances as well. And Mel Harris as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, you wrote Brighton, and you co-wrote still,
with
with
Stephen Burkoff.
Yes, sure. And obviously, you're in Arthur's Whiskey as well. What is it when? Right. Oh, yeah, and Brighton as well. But in terms of writing and the comedy side of things like that, what is it that you sort of look for within those little beats and nuances and funny moments?
Realism. If you observe people in everyday life, God, we're funny. We are so funny. And even at the darkest of times, there's humour. I think that we wouldn't survive if we didn't laugh, especially at ourselves. And I actually remember, and this is a true story, I did a commercial many, many years ago, and I'm bragging now. I've lost 14 stone. So I was the size of a house. And I did this commercial. It was set at a wife swapping party. Yeah. And of course, the big fat, as you do, yeah. And a big fat woman gets up and takes the keys out of the bowl, and all the men in the room go, oh, no, not me. And it was a car commercial. So she's picked out the key in the bowl. Every man in the room wanted to lay claim to that particular car. So they all stood up, and the fat bird got to go home with all of them. But I remember at the time the producers coming to me and saying to me, look, how do you feel about this commercial? Because it's going to get a lot of flack. It's going to get a lot of publicity. And it did. It got accused of being fattest. And at the time I said, if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? And I've always believed that. We need to find something in everyday life that we can laugh at, because what's the alternative? And so that's what goes into the movies.
Amazing. Well, great answer.
Do you all think it's more difficult to make comedy these days? Because of I mean, it seems in cinemas there's less comedy around. The R-rated comedies are harder to get made. Did you have any sort of personal challenges in, pitching to make a comedy?
Stephen, let's start with you.
Yeah, it's really difficult to get a comedy made, and I've been in LA recently a lot, and it's really hard over there as well because nobody's going to the cinema because there's nothing's being shown in the cinema except the Marvel films and the franchises. So it's extremely difficult. I mean, once you're on the ground of filming it, it's fine. The actors are very keen to do comedy, but to get them commissioned is really difficult. And I think it's just because they're just scared about offending anybody. So yeah, it's a difficult one.
Holger, let's talk to you about that then. How did you get your film funded? How did you get it financed?
That was a special system because we did that during a further education course for filmmakers and film crews. And we had the script. We sort of designed the script because we already knew that it might be 2 courses of further education, but we did it with all our heart to make a good film.
Yeah, so your money came from further education, so it was within the system. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Not within the filmmaker system. It's from the unemployment office, actually.
Nice.
Yes.
You can find money anywhere.
Yeah.
You lot with no money.
They loved our project. I must say so because it's the second time that they did that, and we invited them to see the film, and they laughed a lot.
Good.
Hopefully about the film.
The fun employment.
The characters.
Yes. That's amazing. Mitch, let's talk about how you managed to raise money for Murder Ballads. How did that come about in the first place? Were you even thinking about that when you came up with the idea of how you could raise the money?
No, not really. I mean, this film just came out of a complete want to make a film, really. So my background is I'm an editor. I'd edited a feature film for a guy called Bijan Tong, who you know.
Oh,
well. And he contained it in one location, and I just was working on it. I was like, back when I was at school, I used to make films. I should do that again. And so I wrote Neil into it, and we wrote a story called Everything Is Going to Be Fine, which is about this rock band. And then once we'd gone through that process, it was like, God, that was a lot of fun. I'd like to do more of this. Let's change that into a feature. And so we did that. So we crowdfunded for it. We had some private investment. But yeah, we weren't in the system for sure. We were just doing this because we wanted to do it. I didn't think that anyone would necessarily give me money to do this unless I just went out and did it myself. So it was always that in mind. I mean, I think comedy is hard to get made because it's subjective. It can be risky, and a lot of it's watered down as well. Or there's been a lot of articles about American comedies where they just improvise too much, and it's kind of found in the edit, and so it can sometimes be not look as interesting because it's kind of they've just got to kind of serve getting lots filmed quickly. So I think if I had the opportunity to like carry on making comedy films, I'd always want to make ones that are focused on the look as much as the script comedy, the physical comedy, and still getting the great cinematography in there, because you can milk more comedy from a funny shot or how a shot is set up.
It's a great answer. That is true. You can find, Stephen was saying, comedy in lots of things within your film. And I think sometimes when making comedies, people go, the cinematography doesn't matter as much, or something else doesn't matter as much. Well, actually, it does. It's very important what you're telling and what you're putting on screen. Hillary, same with you then in terms of, raising funds for Much Ado. I know that a lot of you here did make your films on very little as well, certainly when you were starting. So it'd be interesting for you because obviously you've made quite a few films.
Yeah, I mean, Much Ado specifically was super low budget. So with that, I'd say it wasn't really so much of a thing, but for trying to get comedy made, since then, it's been super difficult because, especially because me and my sister mostly make rom-coms, and that's so dependent on the audience really expects a glossy film with famous actors in it. So you can't make it for the same low budget, and be able to distribute it at the other end that you can with horror and other genre and stuff. So
which you technically just did as well on your recent film.
Yeah.
You could say famous actors. I
guess they're sort of moderately famous. Well, I don't know if I should.
I'd say they are.
They're comedians that are kind of known in the UK, but still in America it's a bit difficult.
It is. That film's called Time Travel is Dangerous.
Yeah, Time Travel is Dangerous, coming out now.
Both me and Dom worked on as well. But yeah, that's exciting because that's going to playing at the. Are we allowed to announce?
Yeah,
Austin Film Festival.
And Fright Fest in the UK.
And Trieste Science and Fiction.
There we go.
3 festivals in 1 week. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But we're traveling to America and then Italy and then London. But with that, I guess it was kind of trying to get the actors attached, which kind of got things moving, and it was really slow. So.
Well, that was going to be my next question about the casting process with comedy, because in general, casting is obviously one of the main things that gets things financed. Comedy, it's obviously timing as well. Can you just talk a little bit about your processes of the casting?
Yeah, Stephen, let's go to you, because obviously in your film as well, you had Diane Keaton, Lulu, etc. Some brilliant cast members who probably with any of us who would get our films green lit. Was that the case with Arthur's Whiskey then, that you got someone like Diane attached first and then the money came, or was it a kind of, look, we're ready to go if we get one of these? Talk us through that.
It was, it had been developed with Sky Movies. So I was working with them for 3 years originally. So they were always going to finance the film, really, and there was another actress who was going to play the lead role who had to pull out.
Right.
Which was really annoying because we were about to go into pre-production, and then, so we was out to people, weren't we? And then Lulu got involved. And then, I think Patricia Hodge got involved. And then almost at the last minute, we were just trying the American agents, and unbelievably, Diane Keaton liked the script and said yes. So but had we had her a year before, probably would have got the film financed. With anybody,
But with Sky being on board, that probably helps with the casting as well. How did you get them on board without the cast on board?
Well, as you probably know, to go to America, you need to have the money. You can't not have the money. So the fact that when we went to CAA and we said we had Sky behind us, then they took it seriously. I think if we you can't bullshit these agents because they check, and if they don't check and then they find out you haven't got the money, it's really embarrassing.
Yes.
Very serious naughty corner.
For at least a month. Yeah, exactly. Mel,
not whole career.
Yeah, exactly. And Mel, for you then, when you're writing, especially when you're working with Stephen Burkoff and obviously Stephen Cookson here as well, but in the past, has it always been a consideration? Obviously you have Stephen Burkoff, that helps as well in terms of, well, he's already a name, but that doesn't necessarily get you the money or doesn't necessarily get your film made. Was it a consideration when you were writing with the team about who was going to be in it? Did that make a difference in terms of you thinking about how we'd get the money?
Well, in Stephen Burkoff's case, you're talking about Brighton because it was based on a short play that he did called Brighton Beach Scumbags. And to be honest, it was all down to Stephen Cookson because when I got involved in the writing process, he already had quite a good idea of the type of people that he wanted to work with. And so we were able to tailor the writing to them. And also because of the way Stephen works as a director, he likes the actors to come up with their stuff as well, and they're able to ad lib and work quite freely. And they were very, very generous about how much they contributed to the writing. And I think as a writer, you can't afford to have an ego. And it's really important actually that you don't, because you have to let it go. The minute it goes into production, you've got to let it go and let the creative process take over. But yeah, I think from what you're saying, it was really Steve that had an idea of exactly who he wanted in the film, and make sure that it was sort of a standard that they would say, yes, this is really good. I like that. You know,
I like that.
So,
yeah. And with you, Holger, did you need, obviously because of your, did you need cast involved at all? Because obviously you've taken money from the poor, essentially. How did you, did it even make a difference at that point in terms of cast, or was it a case of you just wanted the best actors for your film?
You always want the best actors.
Sure.
And I think we were really lucky because, Tilman Eckert, who played the lead, was willing to do that. And, I think we were looking for somebody, you can, in a way, relate to, identify with. And, he looks a little something like me and Robert Redford, somewhere in between. Probably I casted my alter ego without knowing. But he did a great job. He won an award at the festival for that. And it's really, you must get best actors or your script won't work. And I would not be here at an international festival for comedies. I come from the 19th. I think that was a time when The Guardian wrote about a German comedy which tried to get into the British market. A German comedy is a contradiction in terms. Therefore, I'm quite proud that I made it to be here at this festival.
Yes, and it's true. Amazing achievement.
Yeah, I mean, just going into the casting and the writing process, like how much of this is in the script itself, and how much do you allow for the improvisation? We start with Hillary again.
With Much Ado, like we were really strict to the script because we didn't want to change Shakespeare. So, and then again, I don't know, just to use Time Travel is Dangerous as well. That was much more like improvisation heavy because we had like comedians like Johnny Vegas that were really good at improvising, and also it was a mock dog. So
there was a lot more improvisation in that one, wasn't there?
They're the two kind of extremes where, we had a script and then we'd be like, right, now we've hit all the beats of the script that we know we've got the story. Let's try something different, and everyone just kind of do what you want.
And your book adaptation, I mean, how's that in terms of...
We were quite strict about the script on that one as well. We did a book adaptation called The Upside of Unrequited, which is like a teen rom-com. But yeah, we worked on that script for years, and whenever the teenagers are trying to change the lines, we're like, okay, but let's just do exactly what we wrote.
Yeah. I spent ages writing this.
Spent a really long time writing it. Yeah.
It's kind of that funny line, isn't it? Of knowing how far to sort of, no, actually, this is why we've written it this way. And you spend time, and I don't know about you guys, but you spend time acting it out in your own way with the script, right? Is that kind of what you did? Mitchell, as you've got the mic, let's ask you, when you were writing Murder Ballads, were you acting it out? Were you thinking, did you work it through? Because obviously you co-wrote it as well. Yeah. Were you thinking about how this will be performed? And then obviously there was quite a lot of changes when you were filming it, but.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky in that because it was based off a short and we'd got these three actors back to be the same parts. When we were writing the bigger script, we could imagine how they were performing it, which helped loads because we could just write in Fran's voice or Imogen's voice or Luke's voice, and it made it a lot easier. but yeah, I mean, me and Neil would get on a Zoom and read it out to each other to act it out. So we were, making sure that it was as concise as possible. And just, I think there's a big difference between reading on the page and hearing it out loud as to whether it's actually funny. And then also just getting other people in to hear it and read it as well makes a huge difference, that you can spot a joke that's not working or a structure that's not working. And yeah, then on set being flexible to let people go where they want with it. But it is a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because there's sometimes you're like, oh, well, actually that sets up a joke further down the line that you're not aware of yet, or that, you've got to think of. So it is a delicate balance, but I think my favorite lines are the ones that kind of got developed and changed from the writing and on set, for sure.
Does the timing kind of stay the same on the set? Like it's funny on set and then in the edit you kind of keep it the same? Because jokes is all about timing, really, especially like background sort of jokes. It's very much about when the joke's said and not leaving too much or too little.
I think you do change the timing because you want it to be faster, so you can get more in there. But if it's been done really well and it works within the shot, because you've got and again it comes back to having like the best actors, because the best actors are not the ones who are just talking; they're the ones who are like reacting to the stuff that's going on in it as well. And that's when you want to hold on for a shot for longer, because it's a pause for the punchline, but the person in between the two characters talking is making that pause even better because of the way they're reacting to the situation. And that was very much a character who got written in towards the end in our film, called Eileen, who's just another auditionee at the start of the film. And she's not really involved. She's just in the background, but her reactions and the way she's seeing the other two interact just gets so many more laughs than that scene would otherwise.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Hillary, you were going to jump in?
Do you guys ever get that thing that's really annoying with comedy, if something's really funny in rehearsal and then you can't recreate it?
Yeah, it happens a lot. You almost want to film that bit and just do it.
Yeah, but that was a real tension on Time Travel's Dangerous, actually. We were trying to record the rehearsals and people would be like, it's not ready.
but it's like that in other films. I get this anecdote from Paul Verhoeven, who did this very famous film Turkish Fruit, and he said the main actress was so great at the casting and in the main scene, and he said when looking at the film it was so bad because they couldn't recreate that. Yeah.
Yes.
For us in our film it was better in a way because it was more like character driven. The humor comes with the characters. You don't have to go for every joke. And therefore it was easier because some things work better, some things less, and I'm always amazed how the audience reacts.
It's always lovely, isn't it? Stephen, I want to ask you, was there a difference when you're working with superstars, Oscar winners, as it is to working with people who are, maybe first timers, or, is there a difference when you're working on those comedy and those beats? For you as a director, are you coming in exactly the same? Are you addressing it slightly differently when it's, someone like Diane Keaton?
Well, what was interesting, it's a good question, was Diane didn't ask me any questions about anything. She wasn't interested in anything. She didn't want to know where the camera was. She didn't want to know where the lens was. Wow. What the scene was in the context of, she was just so prepared. I said, would you just try it then? I said, we just try it then. So we just rehearse it a couple of times, and then we'd shoot it. Whereas an inexperienced actor would ask me like a million questions, which is very time consuming, and they're not prepared with their character, and, so it's quite the opposite. So that was my experience working with Diane.
Do you think that's also partly down to having the jokes come out of character in the script side of things rather than trying to create a funny moment? Because then it's kind of intuitive.
I think she was just focused on what she was doing, and she just, like you were saying, she used to be completely authentic, like all of them, like Bill Patterson and Hayley Mills. They just came in, did their thing. They were completely on it, and had done all of the prep that you want actors to have done. I think the problem with these sort of less experienced actresses or actors is they I don't know, they sort of want to do it all on the day, and it's just far too late. You know, you've got to get your shot list. You've got to get through the schedule. There's no time to discuss this, you know.
And often with big names as well, you have less time because it's not like, oh, we'll do your scene in the afternoon. No. They're going, you know, it's what they're literally, this is the time you've got with them. So you need to be prepared and ready. And if they're coming with a load of questions, you're now like, oh God, we're going to just talk about this for the next hour. We're not going to shoot anything. So that is interesting. They come prepared. Holger, you're agreeing with this?
Okay, because this is kind of independent film. It seems to be the same with you. Although it's a big production. I was glad that we had a reading before the beginning of the film, and then you have a kind of preparation, and the actors know, okay, that's the way we want to go. And that made me more secure about the whole process.
That is interesting. For you then, Mel, obviously you're in it as well. When you're on, because we're talking about working with actors and on set, how is those moments? Because obviously you've co-written stuff, you're there on set with your lines, and maybe there's playing with the lines, and you've got dual roles. How do you work that?
Well, I am in it. Don't blink. So there wasn't much playing around with the lines in that particular scene.
Okay.
But in fairness, we were very lucky on Arthur's Whiskey because everyone, Diane, Patricia, everybody it was a very warm atmosphere on set. There were really no awkward moments. So the minute you stepped onto the set, you were just accepted and you just got on with the job. And it really was very easy. And I think with comedy, which Stephen brings out brilliantly in people, is just a lot of the really experienced actors never play the comedy. You know, I mean, if you look at Patricia Hodge in Arthur's Whiskey, she is deadpan and straight all the way through it and gets some of the biggest laughs, you know. So, and, you know, like Stephen said, with the younger actors, they're more insecure. They need feedback. They need to ask questions, and they don't quite understand that once you're there, there's no time. There's no time. It's like, you leave me alone. You're asking me questions that aren't even relevant, you know.
Exactly, yeah. What did they have for breakfast last week?
Yeah, exactly.
Sugar puffs. Let's move on. Let's go.
So in terms of finding the balance between the comedy and the drama, because comedy it's great to have funny sketches, but as soon as you just have sketches, you lose the audience. You actually, the structure is often well disguised under the comedy. So maybe just to start with your film about how you both kind of worked on that and created the balance between the funny moments and the, you know, I suppose the drama and the moments that connect with an audience.
Well, I mean, that's really down to Steve, because Steve is the one that always says to everybody, don't overplay it. And he won't let anybody overplay it. We've got a code between us. So we know that,
what's the code?
No, I can't tell you. No, we really can't tell you that.
Quiet swearing.
But it means to everybody, just take it down a notch or 10 notches. You know, so yeah, I mean, and then Steve knows when the dramatic bits, everybody needs to just kind of pay attention to what it is you're actually saying. Go on, you need to elaborate on that.
Well, I was going to talk about Brighton, you know, that these are very vulgar characters, aren't they? And the more vulgar that they were, the funnier they were, you know. So you know, we had Larry Lamb and Marion Bailey and Leslie Sharp and Phil Davis, you know, great Mike Leigh actors, you know, who I've admired all my life, you know. And we rehearsed it for a couple of weeks, and I mean, they know. I mean, the thing is, also you've got to remember when you work with people of that age, right? What am I going to say? You know, I worked with Joss Ackland, I remember, when I was like 28. I mean, what the hell? He'd worked in Hollywood for years and years, you know? So you've got to remember they know a lot more than us lot. You know, they do it every single day, you know. No, I remember Joss Ackland saying the track's going too fast, you know, because he was timing his performance. And I thought, well, how does he know about that? You know, but so I'm very respectful to these older actors. And I think, you've just got to let them do their thing, you know. And as like you're saying, I mean, it is almost too fast, too slow, a bit more energy. I mean, I remember I was a runner with Ken Russell years ago. He was directing Oliver Reed, you know, and he was just going too fast, you know, and he just said slower. And I thought, God, is that all the director says? Slower. You know?
I think I've got this then. I'll probably do his job.
But it was
A or B direction. Yeah. But I suppose also it's a case of if you're making jokes all the time, people aren't laughing because you're actually bombarding them and you're not giving them time to be caught by surprise by the joke. and you do desensitize. It's like when drama is, miserable all the way through, you soon desensitize to the tragic moments because you've been oversaturated with it.
Yeah, and also, when you're filming, you don't know it's funny sometimes. You know what it's like. You watch something and some people laugh, some people don't. So, I mean, there's a scene in Arthur's Whiskey with Jamie Winston, which when we filmed, it was absolutely hilarious and everybody was killing themselves, laughing. But it doesn't really, like you're saying that with rehearsal, it doesn't quite come over in the edit.
Yeah.
So again, I don't think you should be deluding yourself. This is going to be so funny because it might not work.
Totally.
Or it might get cut.
Yeah, exactly. I think that happens a lot when it's sort of the last take, you'll sort of go, do one for you and have a play. And everyone, all the actors are having the best time. Everyone's laughing. It's hilarious. You go to the edit and you go, none of that works. Can't use any of it because there's no continuity. It's all over the place and it suddenly goes really big or crazy. So it's quite interesting that balance and keeping sane. But anyway, everyone feels good after it and goes, oh, that's the one. And then later on, why didn't you use it? Come sit in the edit room and you work it out. Holger, how did you find that then in terms of playing with the comedy and on set and how you direct? Big question. Sorry.
No, I think one of the best ways is to find something which sort of thinks of the big emotions of the characters and of the pragmatic goal they pursue. And we had one scene which was that worked really nicely. This was when one of the women proposed to the main characters, "Do you want to marry me?" You've got this a text from her, because she's going to be interviewed in a cinema at the same time, which is sort of thing which happens. Okay, she says, "Are you going to marry me?" And then you hear her saying, like, "I just wanted to get pregnant before I'm 30." And then he says, "Yes, yeah." And then, but then you have this thing like, yeah, and that works. That works really nicely. What do you really want, and what kind of effort does it take the character to pursue his goal?
Yeah, Mitch, what about yourself then? Directing the comedy and directing those moments and finding the balance between overplaying and then certainly when you've been through the edit and sort of going, did we go too far there? Should I have done this on a different level?
So our film's quite outlandish. Like the characters are big by their nature. The original short, when we wrote it wasn't a band and it wasn't working because of that, because it was too tragic and not nice. It was a family and it just wasn't working. We changed it to a band and suddenly you could inject a lot more comedy into it. And again, then expanding it to the feature, having the performances of your actors to write off of already really helped, like, know how we were going to direct them and imagine them. So not saying that there wasn't a possibility to go too big, but like you could definitely let them go big and then pull it back as needed, because these characters were so outlandish and like larger than life because they kind of got away with everything. And it was when they started not to that led into like their downfall and everything. So I think it was just giving everyone the opportunity to put their idea out there. Like, one thing I truly believe in is that, like, film is such a great collaborative experience, and to like say it's your way or the highway is never going to get you to the best film. So it's letting everyone have a voice to like, how can we make this better? And then reeling it back in to if needed, to get it, to fit the story as a whole. And if that's finding it then again in the edit, so be it. But I think letting people play as much as they can always helps. But then at a lower level like this, it's the time constraints you have at the locations stuff that sometimes limit that as well.
Yes, very true. Very true.
So in terms of the end goal for all of these films, like, what was the festival and distribution plan? Was it to get it made and then sort of see what happens? Were you always thinking in terms of like cast, release, festival strategy early on? Mel, maybe we start with you.
Well, I only know.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, Stephen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I only know really from what, because Steve goes through all of that. Bless him, I couldn't do it. But to be honest with you, yes, it's great to get the film made, but Steve's eye is always on the bigger picture of it needs to have distribution. And I think from what he's told me that when you are raising money, it helps to know that you will get this film distributed. You know, it's not just going to sit in an archive somewhere. And, you know, so, I mean, with Brighton, that was very much the case, wasn't it? It was, we've got to get it out to the film festivals, in order to get the distribution. And he spent weeks in Cannes, you know, seeing distributors and what have you to make sure that's what happened to it.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Sometimes because some sales agents want to, come on board with the festival strategy before you've gone to the festivals. Some of them want to wait until they've seen it at a festival, to see that it's actually done well, and then they'll sort of come on board. So it's a tricky balance if you're trying to, I guess, split your luck, I suppose.
I don't think you've ever done a pilot or anything like that to show them, have you? I think no.
No, I think my experience, you just make the film and then you send it to the festivals. I mean, you know, sent it all to like Sundance and Berlin, and we've all done it, all the big festivals, and normally they don't accept it because it hasn't got a big distributor behind it. That's, you know, and then you can't get the distributor to say it's been to the film festival. So, you know, but I mean, Brighton, the film that we did, was a small film, independent, and it did do a lot of festivals. We started it off in Dinard, which was a great launch pad for the movie. And then, you know, we toured with the actors, and then it just raises the profile. So like you said, then you can sell it. Arthur's Whiskey was different because it was a Sky Movies thing with Peacock and with Vertical and Sony. So all the distribution really in the main territories was sorted out for that film. It's now just sort of picking up with the other territories. So that's quite different, really.
And Hillary, what about yourself then, for you?
Yeah, I mean, for Much Ado, it was like the goal really was just to kind of learn how to make a film, because we didn't make any shorts. We just made, we made another feature that was both Much Ado and Soundtrack to 16, our first feature. They were kind of like the budget you make a short for. So we were just sort of learning how to make a film by making them, and we didn't really expect them to be like big films. So yeah, we never had any distribution in place for them. But then I'm really glad that we made features, because it felt like we learned about distribution as well as learning about making the film.
Yes.
By getting it all the way from, you know, making it and then putting it on platforms and stuff like that. So,
and the marketing, when you're self-marketing as well, which is a big thing.
So then going on to like bigger films, it's sort of nice to have done the whole process end to end, like by hand, to feel like you're really, and
one thing Hillary does very well is merchandising, such as this one for the latest film, which is a bum bag with the film's title on it. If you've ever been to Cannes, they always have a banner on, you know, one of the Grand Hotel with the Shakespeare sisters on, and it's, you know, it's a big thing actually. If you're independent and you don't have huge marketing, you know, spend behind you, do your own marketing, and
try and get away from my merch.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah. Well, Mitch, also with Murder Ballads, there's a lot of merchant involved, and I mean, because it's a band, you were thinking about that from the beginning. The colours of every character is quite impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say I'm kind of like where you were with your first features, in that I'm kind of going through that learning experience. And so, yeah, if I get a chance to make my next one, then I've learned a lot. But I just, first of all, was just making the film, and thinking about making that as dense as possible, like having the colors and you know, all the in jokes throughout the film and stuff like that, making that as dense as possible. And distribution has been a bit more of an afterthought, which is not something I would do for the next one. It's you know, I always thought like no one would ever give me the money to make this film. That's why I just made it. But that's not going to happen for every film you do. You can't just go out and make it necessarily. So if I want to make these bigger ones, I'm thinking ahead more. But this experience has helped that a lot. And I'm hoping I can just take all that learning into the next one and make it go further because of that.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with going out there and making a film and not knowing, you know, your distribution, your market. It just really helps. It's great to understand it, have a knowledge of it, but we all kind of go into the first one going, I don't know, it's just trying to make something, because it's so hard and no one really gives you the time of day and it's almost impossible. But
and in a weird way, it's less pressure when you haven't gone through like how difficult it actually is to do the finance raising and the casting and all the other stuff. It's actually quite refreshing, and then you get to the other end. Okay, I can't pull in these flavors again. This is basically impossible to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Again.
Yeah, and it's just you with your pound coins, or going back to the unemployment office. Me again. Which is, however you get your movie made, right? It's so important. It's just whatever you can do to get it made. It's so important. And then, it's not necessarily an afterthought. It's just, if you can think about it, and if there's anyone out there listening who hasn't made a feature, isn't about to, it really is important to try and think about that. Really think about where your films, even if is it a comedy, is it drama, what festivals are you going to go to? Really think about it, because suddenly you'll get to the end and go, oh, why aren't people throwing money at me? Because they're not, right, Holger? Yeah, exactly.
And is anyone going to see it? I mean, that's the other thing. Like, have you managed to get any screenings anywhere? Whether that's festivals or local cinemas or whatever. It's kind of important to not just disappear once you've spent all this time and money getting something made.
I made 2 projects like that now, and it was the first one. It was amazing because we got a VOD distribution worldwide from but that sounds great. Money-wise, it's not. This time we got 2 people interested to the VOD distribution, and we'll have to see. Now I've got a producer who tries to negotiate. He's here in the front row, to get a better deal, and probably next time we get an like you must do more famous actor involved, then it's more likely that you get distribution. I think it works like that. You have to see when you do the next step, you get a bit bigger project, you think of something else. But first, you must get the film done. That's most important.
Yes, it really is. But it is also, even if you do have names, you still doesn't mean you're going to sell your movie. You've still got to think about who the audience is. And if you can get in there early, well, you might got pre-sale. We've already sold your movie. Someone will see your movie. There is some money coming back to whether it's you or investors. It's hard, but there is ways and means to do it. Should we jump back a little bit to that moment of starting a project, thinking about how you even get something going? It could be the new one now, it could be right back at the beginning. But I think it's really important for people to know how we do it. It took me 10 years to make my first feature, from trying to make shorts and go through that whole process of failing and learning by my mistakes, or trying to learn by my mistakes, and maybe repeating the same mistakes over and over, and then going, I can't do that anymore, and believing in yourself. And I think it's really difficult to do. When was the moment that it changed? Maybe Stephen, we'll start with you on that case. And when it changed for you, when it was a case of, I'd just like to do this, and it becoming an actual reality, and how you made that happen.
Well, I think, just to step back a second, just what you said, I think one of the most important things about the whole business is the idea of what the film is, because it is so much work to make a film. Can't even describe how much work it is and how difficult it is. So, when I used to teach, years ago, just make sure that the idea is so good, you can't not make it, because so many people sort of rush in, and make it. And you think afterwards, how can I sell it? I can't finance this. I can't get anybody to be in it. It's actually a bit of a shit idea. Start writing the script. You can't get to the end. You do get to the end and nobody likes it. Then no distributor can distribute it because it's not commercial. There's all these, but just one idea. So it just starts with one sentence, So I would really implore people to think about that before they start doing anything else. And even if it takes you 2 years to get a good idea, that's really been my case. With Brighton, with Brighton Beach Scumbags, I was working with Stephen Burkoff on another film, and he just pitched me in a restaurant, Brighton Beach Scumbags. And I just thought, this is really funny. I read the play. I thought it was hilarious, and that was quite a quick decision to do that one. As I said, with Arthur's Whiskey, it was sent in. It was a full screenplay. I thought it was a great idea. Hadn't seen that for a while, so that's what made me decide.
I suppose another consideration is, can you explain the idea? Which is, it seems like a really simple thing, but can you actually pitch concisely, explain like what the theme is, what the characters are, what they're doing, where they're ending up? And that seems to be like a massive thing I hear from some commissioning bodies, is that people just simply can't explain the idea. Sometimes it's a case of, your story and your script, but you don't know, it's very difficult objectively to gather that, and it's finding that sort of communication tool is very important at that stage.
Definitely. And, and if you can't pitch it to your mum or your dad or your girlfriend or boyfriend, then you can't pitch it to the public, you can't pitch it to a distributor, you can't pitch it to a financier, you can't pitch it to an actor. So you're right. You need the log line, definitely.
Yeah, and it has to be so concise. Just having that lit, and everyone goes, "Oh, that sounds good." If you haven't got that within like almost 10 seconds, you've kind of lost it. You go, "Oh, it's about this guy, and he goes across this thing." Everyone's going, "Oh, whatever." It really has to.
The elevator pitch.
Yeah, they call it the elevator pitch. It's like, you meet somebody in a lift. If you haven't explained it to them, by the time they get out, you've lost it.
But even worse is being stuck in the elevator pitch. because
Not if you're the pitcher.
Because the more you keep talking, the more you're unselling your idea, and actually you're removing all the mystery and the fun and the bits that they want to know, which you haven't. So it's finding the balance of like mystery and excitement and getting all the details that you need to hook them initially.
I remember the first time I tried to pitch another idea to Steve, and he went, "I'm bored."
Yes, Stephen.
Okay, thanks, Steve. No, it's taking too long. What's it about? Just tell me what it's about.
Yeah, you're like, well,
but he was right. He had to bully me into not waxing lyrical.
Yeah,
which I tend to do.
Yeah, and it's so important. Like Much Ado, you can say, "Oh, it's Much Ado set modern." You've almost got that kind of, okay, I get it, and then you can put your own twist on it and change it. But if you haven't got that, it's actually how you're going to sell it to anyone. They're not going to sit and read a full page treatment, and they certainly don't want to hear you talk about it. No one does. Everyone gets pitched ideas all the time, so that is something to think about. Is people won't watch it. You can't be on the back of a DVD cover, or they don't really exist anymore. But it's worse. It can't even be on that small bit of text on Netflix or Sky. That's tiny. You've literally got 3 lines. If you can't sell it in that, how are they going to sell your movie? And that's really something to think about. Yes, so jumping back a little bit to what we're saying about coming up with the ideas in the first place, how you pitch that, what you're thinking about. Holger, let's start with you in terms of ideas, where they come from, especially within comedy.
We want to make a film about how dating evolved within the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then my co-writer, Elena Jansen, told me a story about her doing her A-levels and somebody died. And at the funeral, there was a saying like, he never was in love. How is it to be in love once and for real? And he wasn't able to do that. And therefore we got this thing for the main character. He wants to pursue to be in love once and for real. That was what the film started.
Right. But in terms of for you, I meant for you in terms of how did you go about it? Not necessarily like someone can pitch you the idea, but then from there, like just generally with it, what's your process? Do you go, right, okay, now I found the seed of an idea. How do I write the script? Do you block it out? Do you do, scriptments? Do you work with other people?
I'm in the writing process. I'm always, writing with another person, normally a woman. And it's just a dialogue but you need to have these ideas, like you think this is interesting, this works, and then you do the synopsis, you do the treatment, you do the screenplay, and you write the screenplay. But, it was like that. I think for the end, we had a hard way with the ending of the film. And I just remember myself, actually, there's a ghost involved in the film. And then at one story I said, I don't know how to carry on. And I watched, Ghost with Patrick Swayze because I didn't know how to carry on with the script. And I watched it and I said, this is it. That's how I'm going to end the film. That was so funny.
Stole it from Ghost.
Just stole it.
Good idea.
Yeah. But it's good. Whatever works.
Yeah, totally. Right, you take inspiration from anyone.
And I think the people didn't know. Did you see it? Because you watched the film. Did you? Yes, right, okay. Right. But it's nice because you put it in a different thing. We are Germans. You never would relate to Ghost with Patrick Swayze. Swayze?
Yeah.
And it worked. And whatever works, it's okay.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. We're going to open it up to questions anyway, but why don't we open it up to questions now and then we'll come back. So I've got a couple more things to anyone burning hands, please stick them up. Any point now would be really useful. Sir, in the front.
What was the budget for all your movies?
Okay, we're going budget straight away.
Is this on the record?
Yeah, on the record. The budget that we're saying it is or the budget that it actually is? Both. Oh gosh, I shouldn't have asked that, should I?
Yeah, if anyone doesn't want to say for sales reasons, then just
you don't have to. But you can do a rough amount. You can say under whatever. So
under 10 million.
Yeah. The first comedy I made, I'd made a couple of horrors and thrillers just to get this going. Before that, the first comedy was A Serial Killer's Guide to Life, and we made that for 30 grand, and we ended up it was about 60 in the end. That was done for, and that was, we all just went out and got it done and everyone helped out. And that did really well and sold, won an award at Fright Fest and it just did really well. And then 3 Day Millionaire was under $1 million. So it kind of went from the two.
Just under $1 million.
Yeah, I said just under $1 million, if you notice. So you can all say that if you like. It's all just under $1 million. But yeah, I suppose it's just you don't have to give an exact amount, but feel free. I can always cut this out, by the way. This could just be for us.
Yeah, I think our sales agent has said not to say it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's under $1 million then.
It's under $1 million.
Great. Just under $1 million.
Because there are these kind of brackets when you don't have big cast, and that's obviously like raising as time goes on anyway, in terms of like what you can. Sorry, just in terms of like what the level of cast that you now need for film, it has been raising. So there are obviously these brackets of what level you can actually make an independent film where you kind of go out yourself and you work with whoever you can work with. And under 100 grand seems to be one bracket that seems like 60 to 100 seems to be like quite popular. And then you sort of go into the 150 to 300 range, which now SCIS is harder, is less regular, and then you're sort of in the 700s and upwards, and then that's when you're kind of working with a lot of cast, according to a sales agent. So it's interesting what the brackets are and what makes sense in terms of sales.
Yeah, and then it goes above that, obviously, and then it's anything higher from $1 million up to 10. Then it what I mean? Especially with the new tax system that they're putting in the UK, it's up to 15 million is what they've said. So you can claim your 32. Pretty much, it adds to around 31.8, but let's say 32 for our investors at the time. It just makes it a little bit easier, but they've literally put that cap for a reason, the 15 million, because above 15 it becomes something totally different. It becomes your big James Bonds and your Hollywoods, and they're like, no, they don't get that tax relief, which is kind of a shame, really. But anyway, it is interesting. Yeah, so we're saying just under $1 million for Murder Ballads.
No, I'd say I can go for a little bit more concise than that. I guess it's under 200k.
Great, and it's a fantastic movie for that amount of money. Holger?
We were lucky, but we had to pay people a little. It was 112,000 euro.
Okay,
that was okay.
Yeah, nice.
Were you using sort of tax incentives for that?
What is tax incentives?
I guess not.
Thanks.
Basically, in the UK, the government, which we were just talking about there. Yeah, he got it from the unemployment. So yeah, they're not going to
kind of tax.
But the tax in the UK, they can, whatever you make a film for in the UK, the government will give you that back. You just have to prove you spent that money in the UK. So you can get now from April 2025, you can claim up to 31.8/32% back. It is still 18 right now. Yes. So I don't know if Germany does this.
It would have been nice.
They don't. Hillary.
Much Ado was around 20,000, I think. Depends what you count as part of the budget sometimes, but that's my own time valued at nothing.
No, because that'd be 6 million then, wouldn't it? Yeah, exactly. Stephen?
Well, Brighton, which is the film that we did, was about £2 million. That was through EIS financing, which is not really around as much as you were saying.
It seems to be around technically, but it seems to be only 10% of producers I know are actually really using it. And I think it's because it's become more about actually your company and less about the films. There's only a certain amount you can actually spend on each film, and it's a lot really sort of focused on building your company to be larger and getting more employees now than it was.
Yeah, EIS and SEIS, they're basically for if you're making your films for the first time in that film company. If you've already made films, it's really, really hard to get. So it's kind of an initiative. And it's not just across film, it's across the board with any business in the UK. So it's part of that. So of course you can do it, and you can claim... basically, it's good for your investors if you're a first, but you've got to prove you're making more than one film. And that can be a problem for those investors because then they're part of your company. So it
used to be very easy to get both of them.
It did. And too many dodgy producers in the UK messed that up for so many of us and abused the system. And now it's changed. So it's not that anymore.
Arthur's Whiskey. So when you go for a higher level, like you were describing, you have to have a completion bond. And the problem with the completion bond is they need to do everything correctly, so they say. But the problem is that they put a hell of a lot of money into things which are a complete waste of money, in my opinion, like security.
Yes.
We had about £100,000 for security on our last film, which is obviously for
people
filmmakers a waste
films,
complete. So Arthur's Whiskey was about £10 million. It was a very high budget for a comedy, but it was mainly these financing fees. There were just millions and millions not on the screen, I hasten to add.
Yeah, well, that's often the case is when we see these budgets with these higher, right, it's obviously it's on casket, a lot of that, and there's a lot of fees behind that, there's companies behind that. So like Stephen's saying, what's on screen is very different to sometimes the budgets we hear about.
Security guard 1, security guard 2.
Any more questions? A lady there. Yes.
Hi, I kind of noticed that a lot of you mentioned that you write in pairs. I was kind of wondering how you establish that sort of relationship with someone, how you find them, and also if there's any like advice or tips you could give to someone who's writing on their own.
Hillary, you've got the mic. Let's start with you.
Emotional support, if you're doing it on your own.
For one, is very important. Yes, writing with other people and support and how you go about co-writing.
I would just say have a bouncing board if you are writing on your own. Even if you're not writing with someone, just have someone that you trust taste-wise, that you can show a scene or an idea and just say, do you think this works? Maybe someone that's also in the writing world, or at least a director or someone with a creative mind. That's really, really helpful just to get it out of your own mindscape.
Yeah, I'm quite lucky because I was basically born with mine because I work with my sister, but, or she was born with me. But yeah, I guess
she had no choice.
But we do. Time Travel is Dangerous. We wrote with another guy, Chris Redding, who directed it, and that kind of felt more like a writer's room because we kind of like throw out jokes and like we kind of take it away to write it, but then we'd also come back and just like go through it together. And the last film that me and my sister wrote together, we also brought back in some of our friends that we think are really funny, just to kind of go through the script and throw jokes out again. And so if I was writing on my own, I'd probably do that as well, like just invite friends over and then you just kind of examine the scene and say like, you got any other ideas here?
Are we talking funny friends in the industry, outside the industry?
Well, in the industry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me and Giles.
Like people that could write.
Me and Giles didn't get the call.
We're not funny, Dom.
Or you're not friends.
Yeah, it's probably that. Yeah. It's probably that. Yeah, absolutely. I love writing with other people. For me, I've tried to start writing on my own when I first started, and I really struggle. Louise is nodding as well. I just kept hitting a brick wall and got to page 70 and just went, I can't get past this bit. I can't get past. But when I was writing with someone else, I just love bouncing ideas. Yeah, you take over. If you get stuck, the other person just go, oh, no worries, or just leave a blank and move to the next bit. And I just prefer it. You get stuff done. I don't know, there's kind of a system sometimes works with others. You know, you can play with what works and what doesn't, but most of the time it's just about getting it done, choosing who you think's right, and make sure you have some sort of mini contract with each other so you can get out of that as well, so it doesn't linger on. Even if it's just a text between you, it does work in a court of law, but at least you've got that.
That's a really big one if you're doing any co-writing, is make sure that you're fully aligned very, very early on in terms of where you want to take it in the end, because there's nothing worse than finishing a draft together and then finding out that you can't actually, sell it to the person you want because the other writer wants to keep hold of it, or any number of things.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, I'm very much like you. I thrive when I'm working with somebody. I love bouncing ideas. I love the support you get. I think it's very much depends on what you're writing. When it's a film script, which is such a big collaborative thing, it really helps to have someone that you get on extremely well with. You're both on the same page, excuse the pun, in terms of where you want it to go. Steve and I have known each other for a few years, quite a few years. And thank you.
You are funny.
I didn't find that funny. There was a lot of notes on that.
I understand now. Yeah, he's not invited to yours.
Yeah, but we have known each other a very long time, and we've always got the same goal at the end of it. And neither of us has an ego, which is what I kind of referred to earlier. You have to let go of that. It's all about the bigger picture. But sometimes it doesn't work. I did work with somebody years ago, and it was a great little idea for a film, but every time I came up with something that maybe they didn't like, or instead of saying that doesn't work, she'd go and put her fingers out. I'm like, oh, you didn't like that then? And I became so intimidated that I became less creative. I started to withdraw into myself, and it just didn't work. But if obviously writing with Berkoff, I just let him wax lyrical and I come up with the odd, don't like that word, Steve, or, expecting the wrath.
Too many F-bombs.
Well, yeah. But if you're writing a book, a memoir, a teaching memoir, a novel, then often that is a much more insular experience. And that's when you need to plot it out very carefully, know where you're going with it, because you haven't got anybody else to keep you on track. And there's actually great even writing platforms that help you do that. But that is a very solitary experience. It's a very different thing to writing scripts.
Yeah, very much so. Mitch, what about yourself then? How do you like that collaboration or not?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, yeah, so again, I think it's down to the writing partner. I think, obviously if you can build that relationship with someone else, that's great. But like me and Neil have known each other since we were 8. Our tastes are very equally aligned. Neil's a very tall guy, so when we were teenagers, he could get all the video nasties from shops. So like, both went into a lot of Evil Dead and Sam Raimi and Carpenter, but then also Kevin Smith. So we've had very similar tastes, and then after school we've had led very different lives. So our tastes have broadened, but there's that ability to nicely tell each other when something's not good, and to take that criticism without it having that sharpness, because you know that it's coming from an honest place of that was, you had an idea, Mitch, but it's not a very good one. Let's move on from that now. And it gets things moving quicker. And is also, I think, a big thing of having someone else to write with is that you can't just leave it like languishing somewhere. It's that person wants to see that next scene. But you also use that option to say, I can't finish that scene. Like you take over it now. Yep. And Murder Ballads was a weird one because it is a fragmented script. It happens over times of the band's life. So there's like 6 sections, happens, there's a break in time, carry on. So that was very easy structurally to share it amongst each other, because we could just do a section each, pass it back, and we both said by the end of it we wouldn't know who wrote what.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the best way to do it. And I think I had this one scene I just want to share quick where it was a best man speech, and it was supposed to be the big denouement, and it needed to be funny and emotional at the same time. And we just got to it and went, so we just wrote something really funny and emotional. And we left it for draft after draft after draft. But we knew what we wanted to say. We just weren't ready to write it. And then suddenly, it just came out. We were there and we nailed it. So sometimes you don't need, like, if you're stuck, it's okay. It's okay to come back to it, take a break, don't think about it. Just literally write something funny. It's okay, right? There's the famous, Sylvester Stallone? No, yeah, Stallone in Rocky he just writes action scene. Instead of writing all the action, he hits, he goes down, he writes big action scene. In the end, this happens. So yes, so don't worry too much about it.
We have time for one more question somewhere at the back. So yeah, there we go.
Did any of you wrote a comedy about religion once? Is it a thing? Like, it's very popular in Middle East when we make films. We always have a joke about religion. Are you allowed, or are you interested?
I feel like it's less common. I mean, obviously there was like Life of Brian back in the day. It was was a big one. There was what was Chris Morris's film?
Oh, Four Lions.
Four Lions. Yeah. I mean, that's the last one I can remember.
Book of Clarence.
Book of Clarence.
Book of Clarence.
Is that funny?
I haven't seen it.
Right, okay.
Well, you got Book of Mormon in the theatre.
Book of Mormon in the theatre, yeah.
But it's not, it's less.
It's definitely less of a thing. Certainly, you're right. It's a good point. There hasn't been many of those.
Is that because it's not allowed and too restricted, and because people didn't like it? And
No, I don't think there's not allowed. I just think it's not been done.
It's like R-rated comedies. Like, people do feel a bit scared to like put that out there, and like whether it's going to sell. Or, I mean, controversy does sell, but from sales and distribution, there's always nervousness.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a bit of that, certainly.
All right. And finally, then, a little bit of advice. Let's just go round and just before we wrap up, final bit of advice then for maybe your younger self when you're starting out, of what you'd like to say back to yourself now. Now you've all made features.
I think just keep going is the biggest one, in that there's so many options to stop when it gets hard, but build the right team around you and work with the right team and just keep going. It's brute force can sometimes be the reason why you get through to the end of it.
So true. Holger?
Be respectful. Don't be afraid. Go for it.
Don't be employed.
You're trying to prove you're funny now.
Yeah. It's working.
waste less time. I feel like I wasted so much time. I did so many jobs myself that I should have delegated if I could have. I don't know. Be faster.
That's really interesting. Yeah, delegation. I think it's something we don't do enough. We hold on to everything. We're so, scared of letting go sometimes.
I still am bad at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but trying to be better.
Yeah. Well, when me and Dom get invited to the next one, that'll really help you. Stephen.
I think just two quick things. I think about writing, I would say. I mean, I've written scripts on my own and with others, and I have found that writing with two people takes a lot longer. So, and if you talk about timing, if you want to bash a script out quite quickly, then I would do it on your own. I mean, I could write a script in a couple of months. With other people, it takes years, in my experience. So that it's actually sometimes good to work on your own, And I think my other advice would just be, just do it. There's so many people that say they want to be directors or writers or actors, and so what have you done? Well, I haven't actually done anything, and then it's just just do it. If everybody's got a phone, make some short films, get them off to the festivals, and just see if you've got an appetite as a filmmaker.
That's an amazing answer. Mel?
I would say stop getting in your own way, really. I think usually the thing that stops us most is ourselves, and self-belief, and stop thinking about it, do it. Because I know I wasted decades, not that many decades, but
under a million.
Under a million, yeah. But I did. I wasted an awful lot of time, before I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And with the help of good friends and support, you can. So do it.
Amazing advice. I'd like to give a massive thank you to our amazing panel. Thank you so much. Mel Harris, Stephen Cookson, Hillary Shakespeare, Holger, and Mitchell Tolliday, and to Funny Life Film Festival and Louise Munro. Thank you all for coming down. Much appreciated. Thank you.